So I would like to welcome you to our meeting of the Urban Intergroup. And as you see, because I don't see everybody, but I see also our colleagues from the Parliament. I see Fabienne Keller, who is our new Vice President of the Intergroup, and I see Monika Vanna, who is with us. Hi, hello. And Andreas Schiede, who is, I hope, is with us. So now we start, and I hope it will be now also interesting time, even using this new technology, because there are a lot of things which are going around us. So before going into our subject, I would like first to give the floor to our Vice President Fabienne Keller, the former mayor of Strasbourg and the former minister. Fabienne, the floor is yours. C'est à toi.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Dear Jan, can you hear me well? Thank you. I am very happy to see all the colleagues, members, MEP members of the European Parliament, and may I welcome also all the people from the different cities. I went through the list, and we have people from Sweden, from the city of Gävle. We have people from Greece, from Vienna, Athens, as I said, Koper, representing Slovenian cities, from München, Amsterdam, Stuttgart, und so weiter. Donc, so I am very happy to say a few words at the opening of this seminar on the multi-annual financial framework and the next generation EU state of play. Where do we stand as people involved in the urban development? The negotiation of the multi-annual framework is a crucial moment because, of course, we define the budget for the next 7 years. As you all know, it is even more crucial due to the crisis we are going through and the unprecedented recovery plan to face it. And so I would like to warmly congratulate Jan Olbricht, who played a decisive role in the negotiation of the MFF and Next Generation EU, who is still doing so. He will explain it, as there is this pressure due to the conditionality we introduced so that the rule of laws are respected in Europe. And I know, Jan, it was tough, a lot of hours, and tough in terms of negotiation. Communities, and especially cities in Europe, expect a lot from European solidarity. We are aware that, for example, difficult neighborhoods in our cities are particularly affected by the health crisis. Pre-existing precariousness is aggravated, such as difficulties in access to employment, housing, education, encountered by European citizens living in these fragile neighborhoods have been dramatically increased with the confinements put in place in many European countries and the social and economic consequences of it. Health measures are necessary, but we must make sure that local authorities, cities, will benefit from European solidarity through the budget and through the recovery plan. But not only European solidarity also means promoting the exchange of good practices, because European cities are facing similar problems. This is why I'm so happy to be with you and to have this opportunity with the Urban Intergroup to work together on that important subject. Thank you to all of you to participate and bring your experience and your European energy in that discussion. Thank you. And I give the floor to Andreas Schiede from Vienna. I am happy to see you, Andreas, as Vice President as well of the Intergroup for Urban in Europe.
Thank you, Fabienne, and good morning. And special thank you for you all to participate in this important session of the Urban Intergroup, and especially for Jan Olbricht, who, as Fabienne already mentioned, has in this moment two heads, let's say, because he is one of the chief negotiators for the multi-annual financial framework, but also is the chair of the intergroup. So it is the best moment also to host this meeting today to get more into the topic. I think the multi-annual framework consists out of the 7-year EU budget, if we could say, consists but also of the in the political debate about the Recovery and Resilience Fund on giving an answer to the social and economic consequences of the COVID crisis, which I think is extremely important to say. Also, of course, part of it is the rule of law mechanism, which seems to be one of the most discussed issues nowadays between head of states. Honestly, I cannot follow exactly the debate, because those which are making the strongest pressure are also those which are the strongest receivers. So there we will see where this ends up. And also it consists of the idea to have in the next years more own resources of the European Union, with already at least a concrete timetable. And I think all these points are extremely important for cities, because we know that especially urban areas have specific situations, and therefore the European funding is of extremely importance, because all the cities have similarities. It's the social divide in the cities, it's the specific social situation, it's the traffic situation, and it's also the environment. So if we speak about the Green Deal, cities and urban areas play an important role, because it's how to organize the transport of your people, how to organize the waste management, how to provide people with fresh air, how to organize green areas, especially in urban areas, why they are in terms of global heating functioning like an oven. So this is, I think, a lot of important issue, and therefore the funding in the multi-annual financial framework is extremely important, especially for urban areas. As I would also say, the European Union is the only global entity which has also clear green targets, like climate neutrality, and having a big funding and a big plan how to change this. This would be also good if other areas in the world would follow this idea. Secondly, also, as we are discussing now the question of what is the result of COVID, there is, of course, how to fight COVID. Also there, cities and urban areas play a specific role. Like Fabienne was also mentioning, the specific social situations, of course, have also specific infectious situations coming up. But also we should not forget that especially the economic and social impacts of the COVID crisis and the lockdowns are affecting urban areas very strongly. If we just look at tourism, as nobody can travel, it is in cities, urban tourism is completely destroyed. Having a hotel in one of the nice cities of our continent is a burden at the moment. Until before, it was a pleasure because you have a hotel in one of the nicest places. Nowadays, it is creating a big loss. Also, we know that cities nowadays have a lot of industry behind. There is the cultural industry, there is the tourism industry, there is free time life industry. There is a lot of issues which are strongly affected by the COVID crisis. So therefore, the Resilience and Recovery Fund, of course, is extremely important, especially for the urban areas. I would say they are affected most strongly. And also, of course, they play a major role in the future, how to organize health systems. Because what we also learned is strong health systems, strong public health systems. System means not only hospitals, means also what is linked to it, like on the forehand, like doctors network, ambulance networks, public awareness of health, labor situations where people also can look at their health, and all these kind of issues, of course, in urban areas especially to be organized, and probably also will urban areas play a specific role when it comes to vaccination and testing, like we are seeing now also discussed mass testing and mass vaccination. So all these things also that the resilience fund is extremely important. And not to be too long, what we also learned is that digitalization is one of the answers of this confinement. Like today, we are also meeting ourselves in Zoom and not in real life. In the past, we met ourselves somewhere in Brussels or in Strasbourg. Now we have to meet in Zoom, which is good because also it makes more people able to attend, but also it gives, of course, the answer, how is the digital divide in our society? How is the internet infrastructure? How is the broadband infrastructure? What additionally to only broadband and this kind of infrastructure, what we have to do in education system in order to allow, when you have homeschooling, that everybody can have homeschooling, not only those with the latest Apple iBook, but also those which don't have any of these instruments available, not to make out of the digital divide also an education divide. So this all, I think, on these issues, there are answers and fundings in the European budget, let's call it, if it's the Resilient Fund or it's the MFF, which altogether is 1.8 billion, no, trillion in English. It's always weird because in the different language. So it's 1,800 billion euros for 7 years, which are in. And also the own resources, and this I come to the end, have a huge questions also for urban areas, because if it comes to some kind of plastic, non-recyclable plastic tax and issues like this, this also is for urban areas for specific interest, because the waste avalanche which we have faced, the plastic avalanche, of course, is also a logistic and big issues for urban areas specifically. So therefore, I think there is also a good chance, especially for urban areas, to have answers on the challenges which anyway have to be answered in the European framework. So I hope we have an interesting and thrilling morning session.
Yes, thank you, Andreas. As you know from our experience from the past, that our intergroup is cross-party. So you have the chance to listen to Fabienne Keller, who is from our Renew, and Andreas, who is from the Socialist. It's also Monica is present here. He is from the Greens. I am from the EPP. So now I will try to share with you some updated information, what is going on with the negotiations and where we are exactly. And because I think this is the knowledge that it's good to have. So let me now start that, as you know very well, that the whole situation today is in fact result of two elements which are conditions to our discussions. First is Brexit. And please be very, very careful, because Brexit will have the second stage will have in some days, and it will have serious consequences from the single market. So it can have some consequences. We don't discuss it now, but we are aware that especially for some member states will be really important how it will be solved. I mean, the problem of the participation of UK in the single market. Nothing is now decided yet. So I think this is important. And of course, the lack of one of the biggest payer. The second element is, of course, coronavirus, which added the new element. So the first element, in fact, provoked, and as you remember, 2 years ago, the beginning of the discussion was, do we want to have EU on the same level without UK? Or do we want to have the European Union reduced activity because of UK Brexit? This is the main question, because the answer from, so for example, frugal countries was very clear. We have to reduce the activities of EU because of Brexit. So the coronavirus changed the situation. And of course, there was another debate, and I think the debate is what to do with the very, very dangerous situation for industry and for everybody. And the first reaction, as you remember, was no common mutualization of debt. This was the first reaction. First reaction, no mutualization of debt. But very soon, especially the European Commission, next the French government and the German government, they decided to propose the change of rules. And I think this is very important for all of us. The change of rules. It means that let's try to change the element. Let's try to go to the own resources. To own resources, because without own resources, it will be extremely difficult. That's why it was the agreement for mutualization of debt. Mutualization of debt, which is what some economists say that this is the Hamiltonian moment. Because the Hamilton, in fact, when he introduced mutualization of debt, it allowed to create the United States. So this is a real change of rules, mutualization of debt, with the very strong opposition from some of the member states. You know it very well, much better than me. So that's why the decision was, let's go to the financial markets. Let's try and find the money, 750 billion, because this will be the debt of EU. And the debt will have to be paid back by the European budget. So, and of course, to pay it back, we will have to either to make the national contribution much higher, or to reduce the policies, or to create own resources. So I think logically, it was clear that when we go to the financial markets, the consequence will be to create own resources. Because if not, the situation will be extremely difficult. So this is the surroundings. I think this is very important to say, because we are still in the moment of discussing of the common debt. Now, next, we will have as Andreas just also explained, 3 pillars of the whole package, each of them with completely different procedure. I think this is very difficult to explain to the citizens, because the citizens of Europe, they are not especially interested in this complexity of details. No, it's not important, but I think that we have to understand it. That first, 7-year budget, 7 years budget procedure is very clear. The Council of Ministers, the Council of EU, Council proposes the new MFF multi-annual framework, and European Parliament gives the consent, and after the consent of the European Parliament, the Council agrees, and this is final, unanimously, which is very important to do because of the veto. So this is the 7 years budget, and we started to discuss it 2 years ago. If I can ask everybody to mute the microphones, it will be good if everybody can mute the microphone when it doesn't speak. So we started 2 years ago, and of course there was a battle with different presidencies to bigger, higher, etc. The result is that the budget is of course reduced. The budget is reduced for 7 years. And after so many different fightings, we had the European Council meeting with conclusions, and the European Council conclusions, as you know very well, has no significance legally. It is just political decision. So European Council, this is just a political decision. So this is a kind of mandate, the mandate for the ministers. So the ministers, on the basis of these conclusions, they were discussing with us the final version of MFF, which will be next voted. And it was the long-lasting debate, what to do, and of course, how to change the budget and not to changing the conclusions of European Council. Because the prime ministers, they said, no way, we will not give more. So we found the solution, and of course the solution is very interesting, because in fact, first time in history, we as Parliament, we managed to guarantee that the fines which are paid by the companies, that the fines will stay in the budget. They will stay in the budget, and even if we don't have fines, even if we don't have fines, it will be the guarantees. So it means that this amount of money, which is like average of fines for the last 7 years, this amount will be guaranteed for concrete policies. So that's why I think this is not just about money. This is just like a change of also the rules, because the fines were going normally. The fines were going back to the member states, and they reinforced the national budgets. And I think that I also had the question if we can ask everybody to mute the microphones. It will be good, because I mean, if all of us we hear the okay. I don't know if we can mute microphone or not. Okay. Okay, so that's why we managed, and we managed to have 16 billion more for MFF, 16 billion more, and not for national envelopes, but for European programs. So in fact, we managed to add add money to the Horizon Europe, but also and also to Erasmus. We tripled the money to Erasmus, and we managed to give to double the money for EU health. In fact, it's twice more. So for EU health, which is a new program, it has been planned 1.7. It will be now 5.1. So I think that that's why we also managed to give much more money to the new program, which is about values. I mean, for the NGOs. So it means that in fact what we said and what we promised also was to manage more money. For the Horizon is +4, for InvestEU is +1, for Erasmus is plus 2 billion, for health is +3 and 4. It means altogether it's 16 billion more, but it's also the changing the rules. I think this is very, very important. And also the 500 million for decommitted money from the Horizon will stay in the budget. It will be decommitted. So this is the element, but we also manage as a parliament to have the agenda for own resources. Of course, the own resources, the new own resources, they will be decided by the governments and by the national parliaments. But we managed to have the agenda. I mean, what will be put on the table and in which year? So I think we start with plastic, which will be decided now. But next we will go to the ETS or to the border carbon tax, and probably we will do financial transaction tax in future. Well, and of course the question of the digital tax also concerning the big companies. So we managed to have the agenda for own resources debates, which will be next decided by the member states. So 7 years budget, everything is prepared. The numbers are fixed, and we are ready to vote. Why it's so important? Because especially for the people from the local government, as you know very well, that what we need is the annual budget 21. Annual budget 21 requires something which is the base for the budget. It means that the budget 21 should be based on MFF, on multi-annual financial framework. If not, where is the amount from? I mean, it should be MFF. So the annual budget 21 is now based on the agreement with the parliament, which is not voted yet. So the project of 21 is being prepared, and now we have the conciliation of 21. It's ongoing process. I mean, trilogues and conciliation. So everything is prepared now for budget 21, if we have MFF. If the MFF is blocked, if there is no agreement, if there is a veto for MFF, which we cannot exclude, as you know very well, especially from my country and from Hungary, if we don't have MFF, what is the solution? There are two solutions. One is theoretically possible, practically almost impossible. This is the Article 312 from the treaty, which says that if MFF is not voted, we can copy the ceilings from 2020 to 21. But I mean the ceilings, not the budget. I mean, it's like copying the elements of MFF from last year to the next year. But to do it and to use this money, we need to prolong all the regulations which are not now for different policies. Like, for example, cohesion policy. Cohesion policy finishes the 31st December, and that's it. So it means that the cohesion will be finished. It will not work after the 1st of January. So we have to prolong all these regulations, So if we cannot prolong regulations, this mechanism will not fly, will not be in practice. So this is purely theoretical. I can assure you, after our contacts with the European Commission, is that that nothing is being prepared for this model. Nothing. Nobody is working on preparation of prolongation of the regulations. So this mechanism from the Treaty 312, it's too late to make it for 1st January 21. If not, if we don't have MFF, if we don't have this mechanism, what we can do, there is no annual budget 21, so we need the provisorium 112 every month, only for existing projects, which are now ongoing. So of course, to pay for the projects, because this is N+3, but and also money for administration and for direct payments of CAP, but on the of course on the version of 2020. That's it. Nothing new. It means no health fund. It will be no just transition fund. It will, etc. Many things which are not possible. Not new projects. No operational programs. Nothing. It's just provisorium 112. It means and of course I cannot go into details because even the 112 is much more complicated because it's not technically copied 112 from the budget. It's copied, but with the different calculations. So it's smaller than 2020. So it means that that in fact this situation will as long as we don't have the new MFF, because we need this kind of MFF. So this is the state of play. This is at the same time what is important, I think, for all of you, that the work on the regulation is ongoing, on the CPR, which is basic for the cohesion policy, on ERDF, on the ESF plus. Everything is going on, because I think that we would like to be ready with the regulation at the end of the year. And of course, some of the governments, including mine, they say, "Don't worry, the money will be safe." Of course, that with N+3, about 50% of projects are not paid yet from cohesion. 50%. Probably it will be at the end of the year 45% of projects. So they will be paid 21, 22, 23. So we can say that, of course, money for the old projects will be guaranteed, but no progress. I mean, nothing new. So I think this is really important, especially for the local governments, to understand: can we prepare our budget, including the European money, or not? I mean, because this is a question of co-financement, etc., etc. So the situation is very unclear, very unclear. But we are ready, and the regulations are going on. Regulation is another issue, probably. And what I would like to propose immediately now, then in January, we will propose you another meeting on regulations. Okay, on regulations mean on what about ERDF? What about ESF? What about money for cities? Because but we need this kind of meeting when to to explain you all the details. But let's fix the date for January. So today is about the strategy. So this first pillar, 7 years budget. Second pillar, the fund. as you know very well, sorry, but I will repeat something which is well known, but I think we need it. To get the credit on the financial markets, we need unanimous decision of the Council of EU to start the negotiations. It means the decision on the change of the own resources, to put the ceiling of own resources higher. Now it's 1.4% of GNI, and the proposal is to go to 2% of GNI. So to have it, it's necessary to have the unanimous decision of the Council of EU, which opens the procedure, and next all the national parliaments and some of the regional parliaments, they will have to ratify this decision. And of course, this is altogether 41 parliaments. 40 parliaments. If unanimously they agree, the Commission can go to the market and to find the credit for 750 billion, and will go to create the fund, recovery fund. Once the fund is created, it will be divided into the grants and loans. But the main element, and I think is extremely important for the cities, the biggest part of it will be for RRF, I mean, Recovery and Resilience Instrument. Recovery and Resilience Instrument will be based on will be implemented through the national recovery programs. And as you know, the governments, they are preparing the national recovery programs, and there are several conditions. First condition is the question of the European semester. Second condition is the Green Deal. And the third condition is the digital agenda. So that's why these three conditions should be fulfilled. The work on the RRF is ongoing. There are still the debates about the macroeconomic conditionality, which is very, very sensible element. This is how we understand this semester European semester guidelines, etc. And what about the governance of this instrument? Why? Because what the prime ministers agreed is that each government will prepare the national programs. They will send it to the European Commission. European Commission can verify it if everything is linked to the criteria. And next, the Commission will send it to the Council of EU, and the Council of EU will vote it. So this is new. That now the governments will vote the programs of concrete country. So I think this is a qualified majority which will be used. So that's why the Parliament is not very happy, because Parliament would like to take part in the whole process, and not only between the government and the government. So this is probably the first time when the Commission is in fact excluded from the decision. Decision is in the hands of the Council of EU. This is very, very, very new, and this is RRF. But also, once the fund is created, we will have also the REACT EU. REACT EU is a very urgent instrument especially for the coronavirus and problem of health system, etc. And as you know, the REACT EU, it will be refinancing of spendings which are made from February 2020, refinancing from February 2020. So in fact, in each government, they have the plan of the REACT EU, and they will refinance the spendings. So this is also very, very important for the cities. And of course, there are also another top-ups to different policies in this recovery fund. So the recovery fund will be recovery, the instruments for recovery and resilience, but also REACT EU and the other elements. The problem is that two governments now, they are warning that they will block this procedure from the very beginning. So I think, what is the state of play? Nothing has been done yet. Nothing. There is no decision which opens the procedure. So there is no decision. So the ratification has not started yet. Why there is no decision? Because these governments, they were warning that if you vote for the rule of law, we will block you the decision. So that's why the decision is not made. So the question is when we will have recovery fund. When? Of course, optimistically, this is the March, April, if they start now. If they start now. But if they don't start now, they will start, for example, the end of December. Everything will be prolonged. So the fund, it should be, can you imagine, the ratification in 41 national parliaments and next creating the fund. So this is extremely difficult and everybody's waiting for money. So I think the citizens, they should be informed what is going on. Because I mean, when I listen to different governments, they are always almost distributed the money. With the money which is not even started, I mean, the procedure is not started yet. So I think this is very, very difficult. And the third element, which is what Andreas said also, is very, very sensible, is the rule of law. The rule of law is completely different procedure. The proposal is from 2018. So, I mean, if someone says that this is something new, no, this is 18. So it was European Commission proposal. Next, it was the reaction of the Parliament before the elections. And next, we were waiting for the opinion of the Council. The opinion of Council is not ready yet. What we have on the table is a political agreement between the Parliament and the Council. We have the political agreement, what we understand by the rule of law linked to the funds, and the agreement is ready. So the agreement should be voted, but this vote is qualified majority. So these two governments like Hungarian and Polish, of course, they can lose the elections, this voting. So that's why they say, if you vote the rule of law the way you agreed with the Parliament, we will block you budget and fund. So this is the link between the three. If you vote something we don't like, we will block you budget and fund, which we like very much. Because the Hungarian government and Polish government, they said the budget is absolutely great and the fund is great. We like it, but we will block it if you vote the rule of law. So I think that's where we are now. We are now in a situation that nothing has been decided, completely nothing. The budget is agreed like the political agreement with the Parliament, waiting for decision, because Council should send to the Parliament a kind of letter with the proposal. It's not made yet. Concerning the fund, everything is prepared because the decision is prepared. Everything is prepared. Even everybody is now working on RRF, and but no move. I mean, everything is waiting. And the rule of law, everything is agreed, nothing is decided. So the three elements are not decided yet, and we are now waiting for the final situation, because if we don't have budget, we will have the provisorium. And of course, if we don't have fund, what I said, nothing will start from the fund, including React EU, which should be refinancing of the element from the past. So I think that this is exactly the state of play of today's situation. The question is, what will happen? It's very, very interesting. But I would like to finalize. I must say that what is the real important element? The really important element is that, in fact, this is the change of functioning of EU. What I said at the beginning. Introducing the new own resources is changing EU, is reinforcing the EU. So, the situation is that if someone is blocking, is not blocking only money, but also this reform. And the last remark, the Dutch government, but also the French government, they now warned Hungary and Poland that we can do it without you. Is it possible? This is the question. Is it possible? Yes. It's possible on two ways. One is to do it like enhanced cooperation, like Euro. It means that the 25 countries can make enhanced cooperation. They can do it through the institution or European institution, and it will be the kind of European instrument which will be open to everybody. But of course, it will be repaid from the national contribution of this member states who take part in this. So it can be enhanced cooperation, very complicated. The other solution is much simpler. Just the contract between some of the member states. They make the contract, they make the agreement, they go to financial market, they take money and they spend money. And they don't need any European institution for this. They can do it themselves. Is it possible? Yes. But this is, in fact, blockage of the whole reform of the EU in general, which has been proposed by the French government, German government. This is completely out of this. I think this is. I would like to explain it because you can hear it how it has been explained. So this is we are now in the turning point. We are now in the turning point of EU. And of course, my last final, because I have several final remarks. And the question is, what is the fund about if the European Union cannot have a deficit? Because European budget cannot have a deficit. So what is the concept? The concept is that the budget doesn't have the deficit, but we find money outside of the budget. So they are not in the budget. They are outside of the budget. This is like assigned revenue, but this money will be implemented through the budget. So it means that the money from the fund will go through the budget, what is in English very often channeled by the budget. So that's why we need the regulation on RRF. We need regulation of REACT EU because it should be sent through the budget. And next, it will be paid by the budget, by the bank. So I think it comes like assigned revenue from outside, but it goes to the budget and next will be paid by the budget. So there is no deficit in the moment of taking the credit, but at the end, of course, we will have to pay it back. That's why we need the own resources, and that's why we need our national contribution. So the whole, as you see, the situation is much more complex than just fighting for money or just fighting for rule of law. But there are different elements which are included in the whole situation. I hope, and this is my hope, I hope that that we will finish before the end of the year, because everybody needs this money. Everybody needs money. And my annex to my say, because as you know, our secretariat and the bureau of the Intergroup, it means Kasia, who is here, she wrote me that I made a mistake, and I said that we tripled the Erasmus. No, we doubled the Erasmus, but we tripled the fund for health. Thank you. This is you need someone who is correcting you, because I was just checking the numbers. Okay, that's it. And of course I'm ready to answer your question. You can just enter on debate, or you can make the raise your hand, which is on the right side, I think, on the screen, that we raise the hand. Or I am absolutely ready to answer any of your questions.
It's too overwhelming.
So I think that now you have the moral obligation now for the big actors like CMR and Eurocities to react. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. There was sure, but there was an agenda. Shall I? We follow the agenda then, or we want to have a debate? Yeah, for the agenda. Okay, great. So thanks a lot.
Let's go. I understand that we go to the next point of the agenda. So I think
no. It's the same point. It's just to know that if it's you want to have a debate about this with everyone, or if we fine.
No. I think let's go to the agenda. It means the Eurocities, CMR, and CPMR.
All right, perfect.
Let's start Eurocities. Okay.
Great. So thank you, Jan, because I'm really impressed with the work that you're doing. That's why I was asking you how you are. Because I mean, on the budget, on this battle, you are doing an incredible work, and in between trialogues, conciliations, COVID, fights with the member states, and so on, you find the time even to organize an urban intergroup meeting. So really, and knowing that you are in such an important function in this moment in time in the EP is a guarantee for us, the cities that we are thought of. So thank you very much to you and Kasia, because it's really a huge job. So the first thing I would like to say is that I'm really, really happy that we have this meeting of the Intergroup. COVID has in a way stopped it, has stopped many things, including a renewed urban intergroup to kick off its activity. The last time we saw each other was when we launched it in the European Parliament. You remember we had a reception. Fabienne Keller was there, many others were there, and with our mayor. So it's really good that finally we can meet. So one thing that we've always said as Eurocities is that the urban intergroup should be the place from which, in a way, the idea of if you get things right in cities, you get them right for Europe. And where this idea can become a reality, because we've seen how urban areas have been impacted. It was said by both Fabienne and your colleague from Austria. And this crisis has x-rayed all these weaknesses of the current systems and aggravated all the challenges. And we know how important it is also to ensure that the Green Deal and other legislative packages are well urban-proofed. So it's important that the Intergroup really becomes the place where you, as friends, as MEP and friends and ambassadors of the urban community, can play a role in the sectorial committees of the European Parliament and have thematic areas. We said it a few times. So dedicating a meeting on this issue of the Intergroup to this specific area, which is so dear and fundamental to all cities and Europe as a whole, so the budget, the recovery funding and so on, is an excellent start. So really thank you very much. So what to say on all that? How to let's imagine that your country, Jan, the government of your country and Hungary stop vetoing, and that the council can proceed, and then we agree on the money. Let's think we are in a good, positive situation. So our comments and messages on the whole package, MFF and RRF, it's not very nice to pronounce. Is that, first of all, thank you and well done, European Parliament, for having pushed for those 16 billion extra. These are very well acknowledged. Cities have understood that, because at the beginning it was like saying, oh my God, the Parliament is blocking. But no, it was actually blocking what we read in the media. It was really like about the EPs blocking. It's not, but no, you were actually fighting for more money that is actually going to go also in cities. So we are very, very happy. The only weakness that we see in that is that InvestEU could have been even stronger, because, as you know, it could have contributed to the development of critical infrastructures and innovation at local level. That would have been even stronger. But okay, all the rest is really fantastic. Then the second point is that it's really already good that cohesion has been, protected.
Beñat, perdona, tengo tantos líos de emails y cosas. ¿Cómo estás? Espera que voy a...
Somebody
Bien,
is
mucho
speaking.
trabajo,
Could you
la
mute
verdad,
yourself, please?
Can
Oh, maybe I don't know. It's really funny in this. But okay, so we have preserved cohesion, and that's really important.
Eventos y cosas y
But okay, even if the budget is ambitious and close to the previous programming period, what we can flag here is that we have to see, with the ongoing pandemic and everything that is happening, that the cities are not going to they're risking that the centralization, that a re-centralization is happening, and that for the moment some of them are not experiencing very promising first signs. So this we have to monitor very closely, and whatever we can do together to make this better, that's the point. And then we are so happy that we got the 8% on earmarking for sustainable urban development, which was not the hope. Thanks to you that had proposed 10, we finally got it. So it's really good, and it's a good amount of money. Having said that, while it's important that we achieved 8%, I think we must look beyond minimum allocations, because to tackle future challenges and achieve the objectives of cohesion policy, we need to involve cities in a structural dialogue about the allocation of all the funds. And so to do so, we must also reinforce the dialogue between urban and peri-rural areas and make a strong metropolitan cooperation a reality on the ground. I think this is a point that needs to be stressed even more. And avoid this continuous clashing between urban and rural and so on. So that's also a very important message. And now to finish on the cohesion policy side, the partnership principle, that we've always found very problematic, you know that. So we are currently gathering feedback from cities. We're doing a survey, all our cities across Europe, on their involvement in the programming of structural funds, but also in the national recovery programs. So the first responses we are getting highlight a regression, actually, compared to the previous program period. I'm talking about cohesion policy. But so we'll see how things are going. Seems like Italy is working well for the national plans. Some of the countries are working better than others. So, but anyway, I'll go back to that. But so anyway, if you want, we can share more information as soon as our survey will be finalized to see if we can help also in that. Now, I think we need to see cohesion policy in a wider context. Now that significant funds allocation hopefully will be reaching member states via the Resilience and Recovery Fund. The regulation states that cohesion policy objectives are at the basis of this new allocation, although very different rules and methods for its deployment apply. It has been already highlighted in different situations, but we must start a debate on the relationship between the RRF and cohesion funds, including this risk of how do you say, weak coordination, governance, unclear coordination or governance between these two, let's say, instruments. Because some say that member states could favor, the Resilience and Recovery Fund allocation because it will provide them with money with less strings attached. It will be easier, they say. And a lot of investment in terms of capacity building and investing will be done in that. And at the city level, maybe this could see a price paid for the, cohesion part. But anyway, the Commission has already highlighted that member states will need to develop national recovery plans taking into account operational programs, EOPs, but how this is done in practice, and most importantly, how local authorities have a say in all this process is really not clear. And as I said before, we're doing this survey and we continue to check. Now, REACT-EU is it's an interesting example of this connection because it stands between the two. And and we've seen this. We've been positive about this initiative, and we would like to be. You've reacted, both the Commission and the Parliament, to this emergency thing, and to ensure that funds will be available, and so on. We understand and accept the flexibility that is necessary at this stage, but we would like to also say that. Tackling an emergency cannot rely forever on short-term measures. And we should be ambitious also about our long-term objectives to build the resilience and help us to tackle also the emergency. So we are very happy that the European Parliament actually worked in this direction for the Recovery and Resilience Facility report. We appreciate all the efforts that you're doing and you've done with that report, the voting. That we've read the report to make this fund more forward-looking, green, and in line with the principle of the EU. Now, from a city perspective, this facility should provide really important opportunities and investments to transform our cities. If you think 37% of the allocations are reserved for green actions, and cities are responsible for most of the emissions in Europe, so it is a no-brainer that the green recovery should start from cities. And at the same time, also the digital priority. 20% of the funds, cities can play a critical role because, as you know, we are in fact, it's in fact in the cities that we can push for a European model of citizens-led and citizen-focused type of digital transition. So different from other models in the world and that are being talked about in these days in the media. So it's really, even if cities can represent that model, it's important that they still need support to digitalize some public services and to do that in a fair and equal way. So this facility represents a new step for the EU, and it's really important to how do you say make sure that, because cities have been at the center of the crisis, they're also at the center of the response, and and that the funds can take the needs of the local economy really into account to build back better. Now, we have worked with the European Parliament to ensure that the final regulation will include provisions for stronger involvement, and the strong involvement of our member cities in that discussion makes us realize how important this facility is for them. They're really all waiting for it. Providing provisions and urging for a dialogue with member states is important, and will work both for the cities, the member states, and the EU. And I said before, Italy is a good example, but we really need to have cities at the table, because the situation is not positive, and it's not like that everywhere. In Spain and Portugal, for instance, there's a strong focus on urban investment, but it seems like local authorities are not being consulted really. So we really as Eurocity, we really believe that strategic planning on the recovery cannot be left to political affiliation and discretion. And as Eurocities, we have launched again this consultation, as I said before, and we will share it. So the idea is really that the national government should understand the investment gaps and needs. They should establish and implement broad strategic goals via the development of place-based projects, and provide responsibility when relevant to implement some of these projects. So in all that, I really remain at your disposal to continue the discussion on the MFF and the RRF, and make sure that we get to the end of all this process. But also, I'm really, really happy to hear what you said at the end, that we should have meeting on specific regulations, so that we can really go into the details of each, and have this intergroup, as I said before, a sort of group of ambassadors that work in the different sectorial areas of the European Parliament mandate. So thank you very much, and sorry for having been a bit long.
No, thank you. And I want just to, before giving the floor to Frédéric Vallier, the CMR, I want just to react very quickly that, as you know, for a moment, we have this 8% inside the ERDF for sustainable urban development fixed. But as far as concerns the money for the urban initiative, it means for the urban agenda and the urban innovation, it will be decided, because it's not ready yet, because the Parliament wanted more than the European Commission proposed. So Parliament wanted to have 560 million. So the Commission proposed 500 million. So it's not decided yet. But I think that I hope that will be decided very soon. So thank you very much. And I think that now I would like to give the floor to Frédéric Vallier, the Secretary General of CMR. Frédéric, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jan, and thank you for organizing this meeting. There's one thing about this new way of working, is that it brings a lot more people than maybe usual meetings in Brussels. So that's nice to see all those participants. Let me first say that I will not repeat, of course, what Annalisa said, which I share very much, on the huge work that you and your team are conducting, and the importance of this group for us. I think it's the best place to share our common views and see also how we can support your work in member states and on the ground. So thank you, and thank also to the Vice President, Madame Keller, and Schneider and Monica Vanna. Thank you all. There is something that for us is important, and I think we will maybe try to see if we can work also together with Eurocities, CPMR, is that there will be no recovery with territories. And what Annalisa just mentioned about the need to involve cities and local governments, but also regional governments, in the design of the recovery, the national plans for recovery is crucial. I know that the Commission had asked or suggested that local and regional governments are involved in designing the national plans, but I see clearly that it's not the case in all European countries. And so for us, of course, it's very important. The situation now is, of course, blocked. And maybe what I would like to ask you, Jan, is what you think the position of your country and of others might be in the next week, because we are used to those kind of blockage, but it's difficult to know how far they can go. And if, for example, we go in a situation where the 25 member states who agree go on their own, will that be acceptable for also the frugal countries, for example? So that's something maybe you could give us. But let me come back to the heart of our discussions. Of course, for us, it's very frustrating that the whole process is now blocked. And probably what we would like to suggest on our side is that national associations of local and regional governments engage with their national parliaments, with their national governments to make sure that when the situation will offer it, that the parliaments are supporting the MFF and the recovery package. So that's something that we can do. We also did a survey. We don't have yet the result on the partnership principles, so we will be happy also to share it with you in the next days or next weeks as soon as possible. We will also monitor the processes of programming. On cohesion funds, we want to ensure that the partnership principle is effectively implemented and that the municipalities, cities, and regions can have a say on how the funds that target them will be spent. So that's very much in link with of course, the recovery fund. And we are very eager to see how we can organize also complementarity between cities and peripheral and rural areas. As Annalisa mentioned it, for us it's very important to see the connections inside what I call territories. We can call them metropolitan areas or anywhere. It is also crucial that the funds spent under the RRPs is targeted and add values to recovery efforts, and this underlines the need for an effective monitoring process. We see the European Parliament as an ally in this respect and would welcome the opportunity to report back to you on our experiences of using the funds available within the Recovery and Resilience Facility, once, of course, the National Recovery and Resilience Plans are underway and agreed also with in a common understanding by all actors. We have seen in the past years a certain renationalization, and we see with this crisis of COVID that there is a tendency in many countries to re-centralize, and this is something that really is a concern for us. But we see also, hearing what you said, that at European level, also the states want to take over the responsibilities of the Parliament, and this is something that probably we could also advocate together, that decentralization and respect of rights of each entity is crucial if we want to get out of this situation. The partnership agreements also have one big added value. They allow for consistency between the different structural and investment funds in one single country. If the resilient and recovery funds is outside of these partnership agreements, we think there is a risk that it may be inconsistent with other EU funds already engaged in the country. So the link between the different funding is very important. We also are, we are of course supporting and very happy to see that there is an increase of 8% in the urban development, so that's very welcome. And I heard what you just said about the urban initiative, and that's very welcome. But we are concerned that the member states have not done yet any concrete proposals. We will see next week with the ministerial meeting on urban issues what comes out. But of course, we have been working also with Eurocities on the new Leipzig Charter. So this is something that we will also be glad to see. And there's one thing also that is important is the next Portuguese presidency. We have a lot of expectation on the Portuguese presidency. You know that the Prime Minister of Portugal, Antonio Costa, is the former mayor of Lisbon and a very good friend of CMR and Eurocities also, I'm sure. So I think we should maybe, why not organize a meeting with him or with his services, and maybe Jan, you could try to work with the Portuguese presidency, because on the next generation of urban agendas and urban issues, I think there could be a very good support for what we stand for. As regards of other programs managed at the EU level, there's one question about NDK. You know, we wrote that earlier about the support to decentralized cooperation that still needs to be earmarked and set. We have the support of the European Parliament, but you know that the Council and the Commission are rather reluctant, so this is very important for us. And finally, I would like to mention also the fund dedicated to Right and Values program, and that will come back to the discussions we had before about the position or the positioning of some member states. We are very happy, of course, that this fund has been significantly increased to 800 million. But the program represents for us an important instrument for the promotion of common values. And certainly this is important if we want to get the support of civil society and citizens in countries where it's a challenge. Saying that, of course, I'm looking forward to see how we can engage with you and in the next weeks or maybe even days to really put the pressure on member states and so that we can hopefully get out of this situation that will be a disaster for all, and certainly for cities, regions, and that are expecting the funding, and also, and that will be my final word. I think, of course, we welcome very much the link between recovery and Green Deal and sustainable policies. But I think if we can get out of this crisis with some kind of positive outcome, is the possibility that it gives us to rethink the economic model, the development model of Europe on a more green, more equal, more sustainable future. And certainly the territories are the place where it can happen. If we think of energy production, if we think of energy saving, but housing, public buildings, and everything, I don't have to list them all, you know that. So that's where it can happen. So thank you very much again.
Yes, thank you, Frederick. And just to react immediately for your question, when you ask me how far these two governments can go, and I can answer, they can go very far. I mean, this is what I say. This is, but we have the written declaration from yesterday, and this declaration is something which is very interesting because it says nothing. It means that kind of warning in general. We don't like it. We think it should be the change of the treaty in future, but we have to narrow the rule of law, regulation, etc. So in fact, for me, to be very frank, this declaration means that the door is still open. So it means a lot of noise, a lot of warnings, a lot of the saying that we are ready to veto, but it doesn't close anything, because I think that they should be aware that everybody is waiting for the money. So I think that's it. And but just a very short example, in Poland, the first chamber of the parliament, they voted the resolution to reinforce the veto. The second chamber, they voted the resolution against the veto. The National Association of Cities, which is member of CMR, made a very clear statement against the veto. What is in the interest of the cities of Europe, etc., etc. So very good statement. So that's why I think it's a very good example. And I think this kind of pressure should be done. I mean, like the public opinion, because it's not the purely political game between the politicians. I mean, everybody is waiting. And I think the other remark, which is as you know, each crisis, of course, provokes centralization. We had it in the financial crisis, we have it now. So everybody knows that the cities are on the first line, but at the same time, there is a clear tendency to centralize, a very clear tendency. So I think that even I have the question of the chat, what should the Spanish cities do? Sorry, I don't have a very good answer for this, but I think that we have also here among us the representative of the Commission. And I think it should be a very clear demand from the Commission. What about the partnership principle? What about the partnership principle? It's not to oblige everybody how it should be done, but the principle should be kept. I mean, the cities should be the part of the whole debate. And I think that this should be very clear. I think that's especially in this very difficult crisis time. Without the cities, it would be extremely difficult to solve the problems in the health system and the question of the Green Deal and the digital agenda. This is very clear. So I think that we should make it very, and I think that I'm ready to make this kind of lobbying also in the parliament, like we always did. But let's discuss it in January how we can do it, because once we have the regulation on the table, we will know how we can refer to the regulation. I mean, which part of the regulation will open the door. So I now thank you, and I will give the floor to Nicolas Broekes, is Executive Director of CPMR. So yes, the floor is yours, Nicolas.
Thank you so much, Jan. I hope you can hear me. Yes?
Yes.
Good. I see a few nods. Excellent. So first of all, I'd like to join my colleagues' praise of your work, Jan, and the quiet force in your office, Kasia, of course, as well as the hello, as well as the European Parliament MFF negotiating team for your work over the recent months and years, actually, because let's remind ourselves that the Parliament had its position on the MFF post-2020 as early as November 2018. I think it took a lot longer for member states to reach that position. So well done well done to you. And thanks again for your availability to speak to us, to engage with us, the Eurocity CMR, CPMR on a regular basis. We were very happy to welcome you, of course, Jan, at our AGM last month, online AGM, of course. So just a few points. I mean, a lot of things that I wanted to say have already been echoed by colleagues. So I just want to stress a lot of what's been said from our own perspective. First of all, just a few words on the MFF. Just to say that when we saw the package that was the agreement reached by the European Council in July, we welcome the ambition, we welcome the step change in terms of having Next Generation EU sitting alongside the MFF, and also as part of that, the fact that a lot of the financing for under Next Generation EU will be delivered through grants and through shared management, which, if I may be allowed to do so, it's a little bit of a big, it's actually quite a big change compared to what the Commission proposed 5-6 years ago with the Juncker plan, which was entirely based on financial instruments. So very positive to see a recognition of the shared management approach, grants, and of course a test as well, but I'll come back to that. Secondly, we're also pleased that the budget for the key policies for local and regional authorities, cohesion policy most of all, is relatively preserved on the surface, because if you look at the detail, as you all know, the budget for the more developed regions is quite a lot lower than the Commission's proposal. But having said that, it's good that the cohesion policy is not as cut as we once feared. And another positive as well, since no one mentioned it from our perspective, since we have a lot of members that have a border with the United Kingdom, the Brexit Adjustment Reserve, which we're working on right now. We're doing quite a lot of work to influence the proposal of the Commission, which we understand will come out late December, depending, of course, if we have a deal, but I won't go into the details because I simply don't know. Just a few words, maybe reacting to the political agreement reached on the 10th of November. And I've got to, again, praise the European Parliament and their efforts to reinforce certain EU programs which were raised already, Horizon, the EU for Health program, Erasmus+, but also, most importantly, and you've raised that very eloquently, Jan, earlier, the roadmap towards the introduction of new resources, which is very, very important over the long term as well. On the negative side, we still see, if you compare the Parliament's demands on the MFF and also the Commission's initial proposal in 2018, there are quite a lot of cuts that we're not too happy about, that concern our members, regional and local authorities. We haven't talked about the Connecting Europe facility, for example, and our message is clear on that. If the EU wants to deliver on its objectives linked in that instance to territorial accessibility, connectivity, then it needs to allocate the right amount of resources. It won't happen. It's good to have an ambitious Europe, but then you need the resources to go with it. Also, the JTF, it's still, I mean, the final result is still a lot lower than what we would have expected and a lot lower than what the Parliament had asked for. So that's we're not too happy about. And also, let's not forget something that we really pushed for with the Commission earlier this year, which in the end was not taken by the member state, is the so-called bridge solution. The idea that you could use, you would have a transition between the two programming period and allocate funding quite quickly already to help alleviate the impact of the COVID crisis, and that was unfortunately rejected. Maybe just a few points on cohesion policy, although that's not the main topic of this meeting. The JTF and REACT-EU. Overall, it's good. I mean, we're very happy. We did a lot of work, as did the CMR and Eurocities. It's very good that regional authorities are explicit actors in the code of conduct and partnership, even though we would have liked to see a little bit stronger legislation to if you like, force the partnership agreement to include an important integrated approach when it comes to addressing the territorial challenges of certain types of regions. But certainly, we're still happy that there is one. I don't want to dwell too much on other aspects like territorial cooperation, because that's a little bit too specific. But we certainly scored a few successes together with the Parliament on that important regulation. And on the bad side, I mean, I think Frédéric and Annalisa already mentioned it. We see not only for cohesion policy, but more generally applying in particular to the Just Transition Fund and REACT-EU, we see a much stronger push for centralization. If you look at the specifics, member states will have quite a lot of leeway when it comes to targeting areas, the distribution of funds. There is no regional earmarking. The territorial plans drafted by member states, they can involve local authorities, but there's no. We see, and that was raised earlier. It might not happen in the same way across Europe. And you're absolutely right, Jan. I think as a general point, we would have liked to see stronger references to the partnership principle as well. Another quick point as well, still on kind of shared management cohesion policy. We are a little bit worried about the term flexibility, and certainly when it comes to the ability to transfer, the possibility given to member states to transfer funding from shared management for cohesion policy to other parts, to other programs. That's a dangerous precedent. We have to be a little bit careful about that in the future. Then I just wanted to say a few things about the Recovery and Resilience Facility. I've already talked about the ambition, which is great, completely unprecedented. Well, I don't think we could have imagined a year ago that the Council will agree to a package which comes to 1.8 trillion euros if you combine it with the MFF. So that's very, very positive. But on the short term, I join my colleagues' concerns on the fairly weak territorial dimension, the lack of obligation to involve local and regional authorities, and the importance, as was raised earlier, of the partnership principle. It was raised in the chat, and we have that feedback from our members in Spain. You have a very good example there of something that may not work in the future. And let's not forget that regions and cities, they are very much competent in the areas that are covered by the Recovery and Resilience Facility. So it's not just that we want regions and cities to be everywhere for the sake of it. It's because for the success of the actual plan, bearing in mind their competence and experience in that domain, it's in everybody's interest to make sure they are involved. Secondly, we would have liked to see more references to territorial cohesion in terms of the Recovery and Resilience Facility, particularly when it comes to the definition and the assessment of the plans. And again, I've said that already, but Article 6 of the RRF and the allowing the transfer resources and their shared management to the facility is something we are concerned about, and actually quite provocative. We would argue for the other way around. Why not think about something that would go towards cohesion policy rather than the other way around? And another concern as well is, although it is quite complex to put in place, but let's not forget that the allocation methodology, the way that the envelopes are calculated, they are based largely on national criteria. And again, that comes back to what you want the RRF to focus on, but perhaps an additional criteria could have been put together to best reflect, territorial inequalities or endogenous potential, for instance. On the more long term, and I think that was raised already, we see that member states will be under quite a lot of pressure to absorb the allocations under the RRF within the given time frame, which is quite short. And we see that this could have a negative impact on the programming and the implementation of cohesion policy. So that is a concern. We had a technical meeting 2 days ago with 50 of our members actually, and this came through quite strongly from a variety of regions in different member states. So that is a real concern. There is another one, of course, which was raised already about the overlaps and the competition for projects to be financed under the RRF or cohesion policy. And therefore, there is a need for a very strong coordination between these different instruments. And maybe some last points on more long-term reflections. it is, what we don't want is to be in a situation in 2023, 2024, where the RRF, will be seen as a more appealing investment solution and a more appealing investment policy than other investment policies supported by the MFF, like cohesion policy. And I'm a little bit concerned that the inevitable delays that will come with a late start of the programs under cohesion policy will set a precedent. We will be late. I think, Jan, you mentioned that already, owing to the late agreements on the MFF, and I really hope there is one this year. And then what we don't want is to have what we had 6-7 years ago, late start to the program, bad reputation for cohesion policy, bad reputation for regional and local authorities for being slow in implementing their programs, etc., etc. So by way of conclusion, I would just maybe refer to one of the key concessions won by the Parliament as part of the agreements on the MFF and Next Generation EU, which is about assessing the implementation of the Next Generation EU funds. And I would certainly, I know you're already doing so, but certainly count on the European Parliament to use this prerogative to make sure that the implementation of the RRF plans have a strong territorial dimension and see an involvement of regions, cities and local actors there. And then, of course, we need to make sure that the deployment of the RRF does not have any negative consequences on other spending programs, as I said earlier. And I think perhaps what the European Parliament could help us with in that regard is to put a certain amount of pressure on the Commission to give proper support to member states and carry out due controls on them to avoid this. So that's it. I don't want to speak for too long. I hope I was not too long. And thanks again for inviting us to this really important seminar.
Yes, thank you very much, Nicolas. And just to react very quickly, I share the view that we have been quite surprised by the agreement among the prime ministers that they reduced JTF. They didn't agree to this, and secondly, why they deleted completely the bridge solution. So this was completely surprising because the Parliament was been prepared for this. And I would like also to underline that please remember that for the RRF, of course, it's planned for 3 years. I don't know from which moment we will start 3 years. I hope that it will be from the moment of creating of the fund. So 3 years, but 3 years for the commitments. But of course, the investors will go another 3 years, but it will be no N+3. But this is just logic that the commitments should be made next 2 or 3 years. But I think it's also important, and I think this is about the question about overlapping and this element that the 70% of the commitments should be made in the first 2 years, because if they are not made during first 2 years, probably it will disappear to another plan. So I think that's why it's important now to divide which kind of investment should be based on the cohesion policy and which will be very urgently made. So I think probably it will be also our discussion for January to see what will be the plan, because if not, this is the danger of overlapping. It's like I absolutely share the view that for some years there was a tendency to transfer money from cohesion policy to another policies. I think this is very clear. I mean, to propose the easier conditions of implementation outside of cohesion, and to propose it, please, you can transfer the money from the cohesion policy if you want. But I think that the whole context and the coronavirus problem, it shows that we cannot take money from cohesion. It's like JTF. JTF, who is a clear proposal to take money from cohesion policy to JTF. JTF should be based on a different money. They're not money on the cohesion policy. So I think we share the view, and I think that our colleague Omar G is fighting for special territories, etc. So he is very active, and really, as the president of the Regi committee, he's doing a lot to do it. We have about 25 minutes. We have also among us our new colleague in the Urban Intergroup from Spain, Marcos Rosempere. I don't know if Marcos wants to take the floor now as a member of the Intergroup, but also as Spanish. So I don't know, because we mentioned several times the Spanish problems. So I don't want to provoke Marcos, but maybe if you can just want to react, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, I have raised the hand, so it's perfect for me to talk now. First of all, thank you for arranging this meeting, because I think it was very necessary to restart working on urban debates. And I think I propose that we should meet frequently, because the new scenario and the next years they are going to be very intense working for cities and urban planning and the new renovation wave. There are a lot of things that may include cities, urban areas, and a lot of. And I am moderately optimistic. I think at last we will have the recovery plan, and we have some difficulties now, as we have been talking all the morning, but finally we will have it. I think it's my opinion. And then when we have this, we have to be prepared to spend them properly and to improve urban areas and cities. I think we have to board or take it with new inputs. We have to stay alert for the renovated Leipzig chart, which is now arranging and will be prepared for the last months of the German presidency. And I think we should make a kind of statement or communicate about urban intergroup about the Leipzig chart. I think it should be okay to make our proposal for this chart and participate in this debate. I think also that we should try to unify criteria about the renovation wave. The renovation wave is only a proposal from the Commission, but we don't know much. We don't still know very much about this. We don't know the final amount which will be dedicated for this renovation wave, but it's very important because the most of this money will go to urban areas. So I am defending that not only for buildings, but we should extend this renovation wave to urban public spaces, because if we improve urban public spaces, our waste, energy, emissions is very important. Not only the buildings, but also the urban public spaces, and so the cities and urban areas have more to say, much to say, and I think we should debate this as a specific point in a next meeting, and we try to go to a common position and send it to the Commission in order to incorporate in its proposal. Also, I am very concerned, and now I am the responsible for my political group on the Parliament, talking about the new European Bauhaus, which is also linked to these things. So I am writing a position paper, and I am connecting with all the urban planners, European Council of Architects, and they are very, for the first time in years, they are very happy to have this initiative, because it will improve the way in which design improve the lives of people. So I think it should be a good idea that this group and also the Parliament will have a mini report or something similar, specifically about European Bauhaus. And finally, and I don't want to take a long time, and finally, I think other point we should debate, and I think my office is going to arrange a webinar about it. Is what should we do with our cities in the post-pandemic situation? Because we have learned that we have to react to the pandemic situation. We have to modify our public space. We have to modify our ways of going from of mobility from one side to other side. And I think we should be prepared for a next pandemic situation, even in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, I don't know when, but we have to take the things we have learned about from this situation and try to incorporate to the urban agenda as a specific point. The urban agenda have a lot of points, mobility, wasting, a lot of things, but also one more point about a pandemic situation. And this carries me to say that maybe we should try to revise or modify lightly, not strongly, our European urban agenda in the next years in order to incorporate this pandemic situation. That's all. Nice to meet all of you and trying to work with all of you the next years. And very happy to be in this urban intergroup and try, maybe we can get to a lot of results in the next years. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And not politically correct, I must say that I hope that my Spanish cities can address Marcos for the help with the relations in the talking to the Spanish government. This is also the possibility. So I think your presence here is very, very important for all of us. So thank you very much for very interesting ideas. And I think we have to go back with the intergroup to your ideas and your work in the parliament. I would like to say that me personally, I absolutely support the idea of Annalisa Boni, and which is supported by Frédéric Vallier, in this campaign. And a campaign on whatever we call it, but in the participation of the territories in the whole recovery. But I think it should be like the not only the campaign, it's like a promotion campaign, but also the question of demand for the national governments that they cannot do it without the cities. I mean, no matter if it's in the regulation or not. But I think this campaign should be, this is from one side to take part on the European level, but also on the national level. On the national level, and I think absolutely ready. I think that with Marcos and Fabienne, the others, absolutely we can join this campaign and to make this kind of demand or appeal to the national governments. We don't know what will be the result, but with all campaigns is to make it visible. Is to make it visible and very concrete. So I think this is a very good idea. And if you have any more concrete ideas, we can do it. No problem. And because we have about 15 minutes, is anybody who wants to take the floor in our debate concerning the state of play or the different ideas? Frédéric, yes, yes, please.
Well, I was just saying it's a good idea. What we can do is maybe work together with Annalisa and colleagues from CPMR and propose something. And of course, everyone will be welcome in the campaign and certainly the intergroup. But I see also on the chat that others want to join, would like to join if we do something, so they will be very welcome. So we can do that very just after this meeting and come back to you maybe next week, early next week.
Yes, and I think that all of us, we have the experience that there are two kinds of campaigns: either attacking the national governments that they are not doing what they should do, or the positive campaign that we propose something which will be more efficient. As I propose in this very difficult time, it's better to make the positive campaign than attacking. We know that this is decentralization, and if we attack them, they will be even more centralized. So I think that this is much more to make it an offer and proposal, etc. So
no, the idea is not to attack them frontally, but to say that if we want to get out of this crisis in a positive manner, we need to be involved, and we need to get the strength from all parts. I think that would be...
Yeah, clear. Okay. Does anybody want to take the floor and to react or to make the comment or observation? Okay, so if it's
maybe if you want, Jan.
Yes, Fabienne. Yes, please.
Thank you to all of you for the very interesting contribution. I love the proposal of Marcos of working on the post-pandemic form of the cities, and that could be a very natural way to explain that cities need European programs to help them, maybe modifying transportation, waste management systems, or to organize schools, etc., classrooms, etc. So may I suggest the idea of a RETEX? This is a very military return on experience. This is a military concept, but that can be very useful because the idea is to, to say, how did we live the COVID crisis? What did we do well? What could we have done better? And what have been very useful to do it better, to be able to respond better? It's just a methodology that makes a link between the experience we are just living and how we could get better prepared for the future. And I think it could be a good support for what could be not only a communication idea, but also, concrete proposals, and based on the experience the mayors and the cities and the regions just lived, and looking to the future, how could we get better prepared for the next situation?
Yes, thank you. And I have one demand for the floor, and I have one reaction. The question which is going always returning to us is always, can the cities and regions can have the direct access to European funds to Brussels, to come to the Commission? This is very often, and all the big stakeholders like CMR, Eurocities, they know very well what is going on, especially coming from Budapest and Warsaw, etc. And I must just say very, very clearly that the whole system is based on the national envelopes, and the governments are fighting for national envelopes. They will not resign from this. So the only way to do it is to put inside the European legislation the ring fencing. It's like this money should go to the local governments, because and of course some kind of concrete programs can go directly, like the European Innovation Action, and of course for example, something from the Green Deal. It can be centralized program from Brussels, but the system of national envelopes is something which is basic, and to make a big bypass is, to be very frank, non-realistic. Sorry to say that, but concrete programs, concrete actions, absolutely yes. But I think it's much more important to have the ring fencing like the ITIs, so-called ITIs. It's like the decision should be made by the cities and local authorities, full stop. But I think that to avoid it, very difficult. I don't know if Ana Luisa or Frédéric Wollier will add something, but I think this is the discussion you have daily. The same questions coming from the city, especially when the governments are from different political parties than the cities are. So this is a real fear that they will be just excluded from money. So, but this is also the question coming from. Just a moment, I'm looking for the chat from the SME United. Yes, please, the floor is yours. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. I just would like to make a comment. First of all, thank you for organizing this seminar. My name is Kata Porgani, and I'm here today on behalf of SME United, which is the Association of Crafts and SMEs in Europe. And I can just echo what speakers have underlined before me. to better respond to the needs on the ground. Policies, measures, and actions under the next MFF and also under the Next Generation EU program must be designed at regional and local level. And in this context, we believe that a real partnership with local and regional authorities, as well as with economic and social partners, must be a driving force. We are advocating for multi-level and multi-actor governance, which must go hand in hand. The message I would like to convey is that the SME community stands ready to work with the European Parliament and regions and cities to make sure that the partnership principle is strengthened. And we also support the idea of having a campaign in this regard. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And I have the idea. I don't know what you think about the idea that what Marcos said also. Why not starting with the campaign when we have the Leipzig Charter on the table? Maybe we can make it as a point of reference. Like, okay, we have, of course, especially the implementation document, because there will be two documents. One will be declaration, one will be implementation. And once we have the implementation document, why not to having it say, okay, and now we have the very urgent element of the recovery. So I think this is the moment to start. But this is just like my ad hoc reaction, because we will have to react, all of us, for the Leipzig Charter. And is there anything new in the Leipzig Charter, especially implementation document, which will be at the end of the German presidency presented? And I absolutely share the view that we have to work very closely with the Portuguese as soon as possible, because I think that this is the position of the Prime Minister is important for us. Okay, so I very, very politely, I don't provoke the representative of European Commission, who is us, but I'm very glad that Eddie Hartog is with us and listening to us. I don't want to provoke the European Commission to express anything, but thank you for the participation. And if nobody wants to take the floor, so I propose to close the meeting. Let's make it very clear, concrete and efficient. And I understand we prepare, and Annalisa, Frederic, and the CPMR authorities will work on the I don't know, Nicola is with us still, so we'll work on the campaign, and we will join the campaign, and we will see what is going on with the Leipzig Charter. And in January, we plan the meeting very concrete on the regulations, what we have on the table, and what is going on, and what will be the consequences of reinforcing the role of cities using the legal text. Because, you know, among us, we are the old players, many of us, and we know what is going on. I mean, the question is not what is in the text, but the question how we can interpret it. I mean, this is like, we have to be very, very, very clear. And that's why we're ready to do it. And of course, let's do it in January. But for a moment, thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for the speakers, Ana Luisa, Frederic, and Nicola, and all the colleagues. This is a really good participation. Frederic is right. Maybe we should stay with the digital instruments for future. But anyway, let's use it. Let's use it. And thank you very much. Thank you, Kasia, for all the work you have done. And let's be in touch, and please keep yourself healthy, because you know this is the main element for us, you and your families. Thank you very much indeed, and see you next time.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, Jan, and good luck. Good continuation.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Jan. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.